So let's start with a simple thought experiment.
Say you're at a beach when all of a sudden you see your friends struggling out in the water. You want to go help them as quickly as possible, so which path should you take to get there? The shortest path is a straight line, so you can head directly towards him. But you can run faster than you can swim, and this path requires more swimming. So alternatively, you could run down the beach to minimize the distance through the water. But now the total distance is longer than it needs to be. So the optimal path, it turns out, is somewhere in between. To be precise, it depends on the speed with which you can run. Now, you might recognize this mathematical relationship because it is the exact same law that governs light passing from one medium into another. So light also takes the fastest path from point A to point B. What's weird about this is that as humans, we can see where we want to go and then figure out the fastest route. But light? I mean, how does light know how to travel to minimize its journey time?
Now, here is where my misconception is. I shine a laser beam. The light just goes in one direction. I throw a ball goes in one direction. I would have answered, there is nothing strange about it. Light sets off from point A in some direction, and then a little while later, it encounters a medium. And due to local interaction with that medium, it changes direction, ending up at point B. If you later find that of all the possible paths, light took the shortest time to get from A to B, I wouldn't think it was optimizing for anything. I would just think that's what happens when light obeys local rules. But now I will prove to you that light doesn't set out in only one direction. Instead, it really does explore all possible paths. And the same is true for electrons and protons, all quantum particles. So the fact that we see things on single, well-defined trajectories is, in a way, the most convincing illusion nature has ever devised. And the way it works all comes down to a quantity known as the action.
Aleseness, Aquila,
In a
ready to
previous video,
strike.
we showed how an obscure
Falcon,
scientist,
ready to
Dr.
strike.
P, made an ad hoc proposal that there should be a quantity called
Tricera,
action, which
ready
he
to
defined
strike.
as mass times velocity times distance.
Pilot proceeding on board.
Everything always follows the script minimizes the action. Hamilton later showed that this action is equivalent to the time of kinetic energy minus potential energy.
Action was useful and an alternative way of solving physics.
Injecting lithium particles. Pilot sync rate stable.
But then, around the turn of the 20th century,
Escort reactor core and upgrade bunker cities' power facilities. Activating the consoles along the way can speed up the transport vehicle. St. Dino's have also set their sights on this operation. Be sure to complete the escort before then.
Electricity being more widely available in sectors and things like the light bulb. They were new. They were really the hot new thing.
Germany wanted to replace other gas streetlights with electric light bulbs. So an important question was, how do you maximize the visible light given off by a hot filament? Scientists
Let's
at
do
the German
this!
Research Institute, the PTR, studied how much light different materials emitted as a function of temperature.
Objective, capture consoles and guide payload to destination. Unavailable now.
And the heat of the distribution shifted to the left.
Unavailable now.
they still didn't have but now it's
Console activates in 20 seconds. Mobility kit activated.
Would absorb all light that falls onto it. And
Unavailable now.
they came up with a hole.
Warning. You are leaving the combat zone. Unavailable now.
Because the light shines onto it and goes straight in around the inside and eventually
Reactivated.
any radiation inside the cube escapes.
Initiating ejection sequence.
Theorists reason that the walls of the cube are being electromagnetic waves. These waves would then bounce off the other waves.
Enemy down.
Two waves of frequency where
Ready Ready for deployment.
Others correct, they can interfere in such a way that they create places where
Entering
no
combat
wave
zone.
there's nodes and places
Optical
where
camo drone will soon go offline. Auto fire control system unlocked. Signal console activated. The payload is swiftly advancing.
inside a cavity.
Mobility kit, act warning. You are leaving the combat zone.
So for the quarter, which
Enemy down.
dimensions, standing waves look like this. For shorter waves, higher frequencies, you can fit more.
Warning. You are leaving the combat zone. Assist.
Three dimensions.
Warning. You are leaving.
Proportional to frequency
Unavailable.
over landing. The expectation was there would be more and more waves to use over erosion. This led directly to the gene.
Warning. You are leaving the combat zone.
It matched the experimental data pretty well.
Warning. You are leaving the combat zone.
Really divergent experiment.
Warning. You are leaving the combat zone.
Infinite
Warning. You are leaving the combat
This,
zone.
for obvious reasons, became known as the ultraviolet catastrophe. The
Console B activates in 20 seconds.
But clones didn't make it.
Unavailable now.
Everyone's professor and have well maybe which on the deck
Assist. Warning. You are leaving the combat zone.
was essentially a
Subtask.
there was
Warning.
just
You are leaving the
tiny
combat
little
zone.
problem. But besides that,
Unavailable now. Warning. You are leaving the enemy down. Mobility kit. Warning. You are leaving the combat zone.
explanation for black body radiation.
Double kill. Unavailable now.
He was ready to sacrifice every previous
Assist.
without physical loss. Quote, active operation, no one had thought.
Warning. You are leaving the signal console activated. The payload is swiftly advancing.
Wavelength or frequency. And it could take any arbitrary value.
Unavailable.
To emit any wavelength of light, particularly small amounts of energy.
Unavailable now.
Restricting the energy so that it could only come in multiples of the smallest amount.
Mobility kit activated. Assist. Mobility kit deactivated.
Frequency. E equals HF, where H is just
Unavailable.
this radiation.
Unavailable.
They have a range of
Enemy down.
and
Unavailable now.
long wavelength radiation
Unavailable now.
quantum. So
Assist.
this wavelength
Double kill.
well. But at shorter wavelengths and frequencies, the energy of quantum not all of the atoms have energy to emit. This is why an experiment emerges from the
Advancing payload.
and there comes a point none of the atoms have
Unavailable now.
so here the spectrum must drop to zero.
Unavailable now.
With this approach, new molecular radiation spectrum
Enemy down.
is to tune the parameter H. This is just right. We got this formula to match up perfectly with the experiment.
Stabilizing. Unavailable now. Unavailable now. Double kill. Unavailable.
How high?
quantum
Later proposed in nature, it would be some multiple of this quantum.
Assist!
breakthrough that does the ball rolling toward quantum theory brings action. Not energy, not force, action. Gives you a hint.
Mobility kit activated.
The quantum of action
Unavailable now. Unavailable. Assist!
Einstein claims that Planck's theory wasn't just
Unavailable
actually
now.
comes in discrete packets or photons, each with energy use this insight to explain the effect, how light can eject electrons from them, but only when the
Unavailable now. Console C activates in 20 seconds.
electrons will be emitted with regard to intensity. The idea of quantization.
Enemy down.
8 years later, Niels Bohr was trying to understand
Unavailable now.
if it has a particle charge in the
Stabilizing.
center, negative electrons losing their
Unavailable now.
why don't they just
Subtask. Capture
into the
console
nucleus,
C before
radiating
the
their
enemy.
energy as they go?
And what he wants to do is, he says there's something
Double kill.
Bohr realizes that
Unavailable now.
around the nucleus,
Assist.
velocity times radius. So angular momentum.
Assist. Unavailable now.
And so what he's saying is this is time for momentum for no good reason.
Unavailable
So
now.
let's that on it. The momentum electron can hold 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units of the same quantity h. And that motion is circular.
Signal console activated. The payload is swiftly advancing.
Out of nowhere. It seems like absolutely no good
Unavailable.
reason angular momentum should be quantified. By
Assist.
doing it, Bohr finds the correct energy levels of the hydrogen. When an electron jumps from a higher orbit,
Stabilizing.
the energy difference is given off to the
Mobility. Battle ends in 180
exact
seconds.
same using the hydrogen spectrum.
And that was a pretty startling thing to have fall out. So I think that really was telling. Some thought you would use of that and apply some, again, kind of ad hoc just discretization.
Now, although it worked spectacularly well, until 11 years later,
Enemy down.
for his PhD,
Unavailable now. Assist. Assist. Unavailable
also
now.
be waves. He proposed that everything, electrons, basketballs, people, absolutely everything has a wavelength. And he defined this wavelength
Victory!
analogously to light as Planck's constant divided by the particle's momentum, or mass times velocity. Now, if an electron is a wave, the only way
Warning.
it can stay
MVP.
standing
Tricera will
that
always
requires
have your
that
back.
a whole number of wavelengths fit around the circumference of the orbit. You could have one wavelength, or two wavelengths, 3, and so on. So the circumference 2 pi r must be equal to some multiple n times the wavelength. We can sub in de Broglie's expression for the wavelength to get that 2 pi r equals nh over mv. But we can rearrange this to get that vr, the angular momentum, is equal to nh over 2 pi.
That is precisely Bohr's quantized angular momentum. But now we have a good physical reason why it's quantized. Because electrons are waves, and they must exist as standing waves to be bound in atoms.
Because they want to have constructive interference that is stable and back. That's pretty good. You get a dissertation out of that. That's pretty good.